You're asking me the most difficult question. You see, I have a problem here. The problem, it's not really a problem. That question never arises in me, but many people ask that question, who are you? And I tell them that's a wrong question. You see, I think grammatically speaking too, but it should be, what are you? Or something like that. But in India for centuries they have been asking this question, who are you? And the assumption is that there is something there other than you know who you are or whatever you are. But I have a problem there, you see, in the sense that it is very difficult for me to create an image of myself and tell myself this is me. But by the time I try to complete the image there, then it is not there anymore. So only in relationship with that it is possible for us to form images of others. That is always very difficult for me. See, the other day I was talking to a friend of mine. I don't understand what you are talking about, you see. So it is very difficult for me to create an image of you, how you look like, the moment I turn that side. I always think in terms of and talk in terms of the functioning of this physical living organism only.
Okay, if I look at the functioning of this physical living organism, what does it do for a living, for example?
You have to, you see, we live in two different worlds. The natural world, and this living organism has a tremendous intelligence of its own. It doesn't need to learn anything to function and live in a jungle. But unfortunately our culture has created a different kind of a world in which we have to function differently. Society, culture, or whatever you want to call it, has created this world for us in which we live in the world of ideas, worlds of thoughts, worlds of experiences. And the society says that we are going to educate you and fit you into this framework. And here is the cake for you. If you want a share in that cake, you have to fight for it. The more you fight for it, the more larger share you will have in this cake. So we have got to be educated, and there is no way we can survive in this world without fighting for our share in that cake.
Well, if I could sort of interrupt and say that the question really is, what is it that you do for your bread? Let's forget about butter and cake. How do you make a living?
I have been very lucky, see, because I was born rich, and when all that disappeared, somebody else came along and provided me the chance to survive without working for my bread.
Tell us how that happened. Where were you born, and what's the story?
I just don't want to go into that. That's all. You see, past history. See, that may not be of any interest to our viewers or to me. I can't really go back into that question, you see. So people very often ask me, so why do you travel? Do you have any compulsion to travel? And this year I have gone around the world twice. Why do you travel? They very well ask me the question. That question sounds very funny to me, because you never ask the birds that come all the way from Siberia to a small little place in Mysore state, what you call bird sanctuary, and after that they go back.
You've been reluctant to sort of have labels attached to you as teacher, philosopher, or what have you.
God, man, guru,
or
and
whatever.
all that kind.
You have a reluctance.
You see, when people ask me, what are you? You see, what do you do? You see, not necessarily for a living. I have to tell them, I'm a philosopher of some sort. I did my philosophy, but I am not a professional philosopher. But I have discovered something extraordinary for myself. And despite everything I did, I stumbled into something extraordinary.
You just mentioned miracle, but you've also referred to it as a calamity that was to, dare I use the word, transform your life.
I have very purposely used the word calamity, but actually it is not a calamity. I use the word calamity in the sense that you search for something all your life, you see. For example, you see that there is a self here or God out there, and suddenly it hits you like a lightning that where is this self that I have been searching all my life? life. You see, it shatters everything that you have experienced before. The whole image that you have built around that is shattered to pieces. You expect to be in a blissful state, in a state of ecstasy, full of love, full of compassion. But in its place you find that this is just a living organism, pulsating with life. What is there? And what you are left with is just the pulse and the beat and throb of life. And there is nothing there. And this comes as a shock because you realize that all your life, all through your search, you expected that you would be something like Buddha, something like Jesus, something like, you see, Muhammad, all the great teachers. And so that came as a shock to me and said, you see, this is a calamity. See, you are expecting something to happen. You are questing all your life, you see, for something that does not exist. You see, that came as a shock to me. So that's the reason why I use that word, calamity, and also rejected totally and completely the idea of transformation, because what is there to be transformed? I didn't find anything there, so there is nothing there to be transformed. And so all that talk of transformation, radical or otherwise, is just poppycock, I said to myself.
This happened in your 49th year.
49th year.
What happened? Did it sort of happen one morning? Was there a light or lightning?
No, the question that, you see, first I started with the question, you see, I want to be enlightened. I want to be like Buddha. I want to be like Jesus. I want to be like all the great spiritual teachers. And so how to be enlightened? You see, that I pursued for a long time. And somewhere along the line I discovered, through some sort of a mystical experience, I might say that, for want of a better and more adequate term.
Can you describe that mystical experience?
You see, the mystical experience is within the framework of the knowledge still. And that's, I consider, and it's a very petty little experience. You experience what you know. That does not in any way free you from the knowledge you have acquired. So you are still, you see, caught up in this idea, and you owe everything to the one that has helped you to experience these things. You are still dependent on that. You have not actually freed yourself from that. That's why I call it mystical experience. That itself is an extraordinary thing because it awakens some sort of an intelligence there in you. And from then on, you look at everything differently. You experience the same old things in a different way and try to share that experience with somebody else. Or you interpret the text, you see, in a different way, in a more meaningful and more expressive way. But I said to myself, this has nothing to do with what I have been interested in. This is a petty little experience. And then when you still continue and try to go beyond, you have no way of going beyond that mystical experience, because that has a stranglehold on you, exactly where the other experiences had a stranglehold on you. There is no way you can get out of that trap, because that becomes more important to you because it is your own experience. What you consider to be the experience of others has become your own experience, and that, you see, throttles and chokes you all the time. And the struggles to get out of it is more difficult than what it was before. So at that time I could have established a tremendous worldwide organization and invited the whole world and shouted from the tops of the world, here is something which I have discovered for myself. Come ye and listen to me. And that is also the thing that is responsible for the idea of changing the world. When once you are freed from the demand to bring about a change in you, the demand to change the world around you also comes to an end.